So how is Rebel Moon? Well, my brain gives it 2 stars, but I'm going to give it 3.5. You see, why do people love Zack Snyder despite a general agreement that his movies are not always objectively good? I think it is because Zack Snyder is the good Michael Bay. Both Bay and Snyder are visual filmmakers who care less about creating a reality and more about pushing an aesthetic experience. They linger over beautiful people, overuse slow motion, and obsess over action scenes and have cardboard-thin characters. But critics of them cannot account for their success. And I think that's because they give us what we want, and so a certain audience will keep coming back to them. But fans of Michael Bay admit to shallow reasons for loving him. He makes guilty pleasures, if that is a thing that even makes sense. But people stand for Snyder obsessively. With all the bad reviews and shit talk about Rebel Moon, it's a hit, the highest viewed film on Netflix. In this video, we'll explore why Snyder resonates with people even when the film really doesn't work, and we'll talk about why my brain gives Rebel Moon a 2, but I like it a lot more than that. Although visually state-of-the-art, there is an old-fashioned sensibility to both Michael Bay and Zack Snyder's films. An older storytelling where things are simpler. The people are exaggerated and idealized versions of real people. Rebel Moon was originally Zack Snyder's attempt to pitch a new hard R version of Star Wars. Lucasfilm didn't bite, but Netflix did instead. I eagerly anticipated seeing Zack Snyder's vision of Star Wars. I'll admit I'm a fair-weather fan. I have loved the man's work, but I thought the last few projects didn't quite work with lapses in logic and over-the-top storytelling. But even these films all have their fans. And I'll tell you, Batman v Superman is terrible, but I'll watch it over the last 10 DCU movies and a mediocre Marvel movie. Even when Zack Snyder fails, we feel him straining for greatness. But here's why Zack Snyder is the good version and Michael Bay is the bad. 1. How he shoots action scenes. You can always tell what is happening in a Zack Snyder film. In fact, there are times where he is a great director of action scenes. There is a visceral power to them. While Michael Bay's actions, it is often impossible to understand what is going on. Rebel Moon has several action sequences that made the movie worth watching for me. He's good at giving you a visceral, brutal moment. I'll admit, I can be simple as a moviegoer, and if there's enough of those brutal moments, I can leave a not-so-good movie feeling I got my money's worth. The scene where Cora decimates a group of men using an axe reminds me of why I tune into Snyder's movies, even when I didn't like the last 3. His obsession with slow motion assures you know what is happening in a battle scene, and there's none of that confusion. 2. The characters in Zack Snyder and Michael Bay films are not characters. Snyder's characters are archetypes. An archetype is like the purest version of a character. It might be a way of saying his characters are cardboard cutouts rather than real characters, but I'm interested in seeing why Snyder's films work despite their obvious flaws rather than just taking shots at him. Michael Bay's characters are also cardboard cutouts, but they are less archetypes and more like cartoons. Annoying, over-the-top, unlikable cartoons. Snyder's characters are paper thin, but they harken back to mythic stories, and I think that is why some people really respond to him, even when he fails to deliver a character that is well written. Snyder's characters are gods and the sons and daughters of gods. He's continuing an ancient form of storytelling and in a way that no one else is. The mythic archetypes push buttons in us. They are idealized people, less characters than idealized versions, wish fulfillment versions of ourselves. Sometimes it works, but it feels thin. We don't know much about Cora, although she dodges becoming a Mary Sue. Yeah, she is flawed, and her fierceness makes complete sense once we learn her training, and Sofia Boutella has always been convincing when beating the shit out of men, but we don't quite feel like we know her. The villain is also a cardboard cutout. It seems like a poor man's Hans Landa, and then he proceeds to behave as villains always do, killing their underlings for no reason other than just to show how evil they are. One puzzling thing about this villain is if he is going to be the big bad of the series, why are they sending him out to the ass end of the universe to collect grain? Wouldn't that be the job of a lesser officer? Tarkin wouldn't have sent Vader out to get moisture farmers to Tatooine to up their production. No, he saves him for better things than that. In addition to a cardboard cutout villain, the heroes are nondescript. A good test was posed by the guys at Red Letter Media of how to tell if someone is a strong character. Try describing them without describing their appearance. Okay, long hair guy, doesn't wear shirt, likes animals. Han Solo looking guy who shouldn't be there. Samurai girl with laser swords. Wasn't that guy in Sons of Anarchy? There's not much to these characters, but as archetypes, they almost work. They are idealized, beautified visions of the audience. And in typical Zack Snyder fashion, all of them are beautiful. Zack Snyder is obsessed with physical beauty. In a time where the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue in Victoria's Secret felt forced to cast away their role as provider of PG-13 wanking material and decided to represent and celebrate all body types, Zack Snyder is still unapologetically obsessed with physical beauty. Out of the magnificent 7 heroes in Rebel Moon, there's not one without chiseled abs. He's obsessed with beautiful people. We can see this as an obvious flaw, as often he shoots for beauty rather than depth. Modern audiences have rejected this mode of storytelling. Some believe that it is not okay to linger and ogle on their bodies of movie stars. They want to remove the sexuality from the character and just tell the story so everybody can enjoy it. And it makes sense with what is happening in the world. Some people are rejecting being objectified. They want sex, even the hint of it, removed from their media. There's even a trend to remove the romantic B-plot. No more kissing in your movies, people. The last Star Wars movie went as far as making a joke out of this. But Snyder says screw that. He gives us eye candy and doesn't shy away from it. And it doesn't feel reactionary coming from him. It's just what he is there for. It's him being him. I think that's why some audiences love him so much. They miss the idealized beauty we used to see in movies. And back in the day, yes, it was one-sided. You were way more likely to see women objectified than men. Both Michael Bay and Zack Snyder are guilty of obsessing over physical beauty. And I think some audiences miss it, and that's part of why they like his movies. But where Bay gives us this to gaze at, and this for the women to gaze at, Bay lingers over the female body with the male gaze. Both directors give us something forbidden in our new culture. We're no longer allowed to objectify in movies. I'm going to side with the Zack Snyders of the world to say it's okay to objectify. It's natural. It's unavoidable. And the way to make it politically correct is to objectify both sides equally. The Marvel movies have slipped away from objectification, pretending that the godlike superhero actors were not chosen for their physical beauty. What Snyder does right is he objectifies everyone equally. In fact, he might love the male body even more than he likes female. Everyone in this movie is beautiful, but there are more shots of sunlight glistening off chiseled abs than there are shots of naked female bodies. He's no stranger to exploiting female beauty, and Sucker Punch's entire premise revolves around the idea of let's take some beautiful girls, dress them up in schoolgirl outfits, and make them destroy shit anime style. Not only is the obsession with physical beauty apparent, the characters feel it too. I mean, to an almost hilarious level. Everyone in Korra's village in the first act is horny AF. It's all they talk about. You can really feel where scenes were cut to make this family friendly. Snyder fails the famous Bechdel test right away, having several characters ask Korra why she isn't getting laid before the first 10 minutes are over. I can't help but feel the new audience's reaction to not want to desire movie stars is simply just inauthentic and unnatural. Part of the appeal of filmmakers like Snyder and Bay is that they give us what we want. They don't make us eat our vegetables. They are meals of all ice cream, and that would be bad if it's all we got, but it's not. They are, in fact, the only ones giving us what we want. Snyder's obsession with beauty also makes him hard to laugh at, and that is another one of his features. There is no laughing in the world of Rebel Moon. You will not find a single joke in Rebel Moon or most of Snyder's work, except every awful moment Ezra Miller's Flash shows up. Similarly with his evil counterpart, Michael Bay is not funny. Oh, there's a joke a minute in a Bay movie, but you will not laugh once because Michael Bay has the sense of humor of a frat boy making a date rape joke at a kid's birthday party. Snyder has no interest in humor that undercuts his dead serious tone. Everything lends to you taking him seriously, even when he makes really silly shit. The desaturated colors, the slow motion, the lingering shots, and this is another reason why a lot of us love him. Zack Snyder is a man that has no sense of irony, no sign of the self-deprecating desire Joss Whedon and James Gunn have to wink at the audience and say, hey, this is a superhero movie, this is goofy shit. No, Snyder is doing the work of the myth maker. And if you throw too many jokes at the god, they no longer feel very powerful. And I love the comedy in Guardians of the Galaxy, but when Guardians of the Galaxy hit and became such a huge hit, despite no one ever having given a crap about the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book, that sense of humor took off and infected every Marvel movie. Every movie. Zack Snyder holds the line. Oh, you will not laugh here. This is serious life and death business, and it is refreshing to have someone somewhere still taking this shit seriously. There are times in Rebel Moon where you feel Snyder really believes this rebellion is somehow important, even though it's not. It's a movie, not even a great one. And here's where it all falls apart, and my brain can't say this is particularly a good movie. There's always too many plot holes and contrivances in his films. Snyder is a visual genius, but not a writer, and I wish he trusted his visuals more. He seems to think we need long info dump monologues to explain the world, but we don't. It's all really too simple. Totalitarian government, gotta rebel, etc. We could have gotten all that just by watching. He should do what someone like Panos Cosmatos does in Mandy or Ridley Scott circa Blade Runner. Just shut up and let the visuals wash over the audience. Only explain when the audience would be lost without an explanation. But instead, Rebel Moon explains it all away. Rebel Moon was not entirely successful for me, but I can't say I didn't like it, even though I can objectively say it's not good, in that it doesn't work. Both Bay and Snyder offer audiences a thing they want that other filmmakers can't deliver or refuse to, because they understand this style is too old-fashioned, too politically outdated, too full of machismo and shallow obsession with beauty and idealization. But what a lot of filmmakers don't get is that some of us really miss that shit. And Zack Snyder can't help but give it to us. It's just who he is. And I'll be ready to watch part 2 as soon as it comes out. Please like and subscribe. If you want to hear my take on what Star Wars means, check out this video right here.